What's up guys, welcome back, Leo Pazzo Productions. Thank you very much for tuning in. In today's video, we're gonna be having a closer look at this brand new product here made by RGBlink. This is the Mini ISO live streaming video switcher and recorder. It is honestly jam-packed with a bunch of features. I'm gonna be sharing with you guys everything you need to know about this device throughout the course of this video. Unfortunately, this video is gonna be a little bit on the longer side because we do have quite a bit to cover. So to help you guys out, I'm going to leave some video timestamp chapters down into the description so you can easily navigate and find the topic that we're going to be discussing, or even just kind of reference later on into the future. With that being said, I also wanted to point out that I am recording this whole video right now to the Mini ISO video switcher via the SSD that I have connected. So let's go ahead and jump right into it because we definitely do have quite a bit to cover. So I'm going to make a switch over here onto the Mini ISO. Quick little cut transition. So here is my setup specifically for today's video, just to kind of demonstrate everything that I have connected over here to the Mini ISO and just get you guys a little bit more familiar. So starting off, let's get a little bit more familiar with some of these cables and everything that I have going on, because it does look a little bit complicated, but really it's not. Let me just go ahead and break it down to you. So first things first, obviously here is the Mini ISO. We do have power going to the Mini ISO with this USB-C cable. Next over here, we do have these other cables over here, which are 4 HDMI inputs, which this Mini ISO does support up to 4K 60 frames per second as far as the input. So that is definitely really nice, up to 4K 60 frames. Over here to the right hand side, we do have an HDMI out, which is my multi-view, and I actually have that being sent over here to this external monitor, which is basically showing me the exact same thing that I see over here on the Mini ISO display screen over here. So we do have a 3.5-inch touchscreen display screen. It's being projected over here onto this external monitor via this HDMI output. As we move along over here to the right hand side, let's talk about this blue cable as you see over here, which is a USB 3.0, which is included with the kit. And this is actually a webcam out. So for an example, I have it connected over here going to my PC. So if I wanted to, if I didn't want it to live stream directly from the Mini ISO, I can send the program out and I can send this over here to Vmix for an example, or to OBS, and I can stream via that software if I wanted to. Or maybe I just wanted to record on OBS as well. So we do have multiple different options. So anyways, we do have the USB 3.0 output over here, which is going over here to my PC. Just underneath that USB 3.0, this blue cable, just underneath that, we do have the program HDMI output. As you see, it's running over here, a short little HDMI cable, which is coming over here to an external monitor, which is basically showing me my program out. This is what I'm recording. This is what I'm live streaming, so I can see that. So this setup, as you guys can see, I can see my program on this monitor, and I have my multi-view over here showing me all of my inputs on this bigger monitor. As we move along over here, we do have another cable, which is a USB cable. So ideally, you can just go ahead and plug in a USB flash drive or a USB stick, for an example. So all of your recordings that you want to do from the Mini ISO can be recorded to that USB stick. But in my case, what I've done, which is actually a really nice feature, I've connected a USB hub. So if we follow this cable over here, this is coming over here to this USB hub, which is actually really nice because now I can connect multiple different devices. For an example, here is the SSD Samsung T5 that I'm actually recording this video onto right now. This next USB-C cable is actually connected to my webcam over here, the OBSBot Meet 2 webcam, which does support up to 4K 30 frames per second. We'll talk about and demonstrate that in a little bit more detail. And over here, we just do have a USB to USB-C adapter, and we're going to be talking about this a little bit more because I'm actually going to be connecting, for an example, a wireless microphone kit via the USB-C receiver as another audio input, for an example, microphone number 3. So next over here, we do have another blue cable, which is my network cable, which is supplying an IP address network connection to the Mini ISO, which is actually going to allow me to live stream directly from the Mini ISO and also perform firmware updates, etc. Next over here, we do have a 3.5mm cable connected, which is actually my microphone number 1 input. And I'm actually using and recording for this video, I'm using the Rode Wireless Pro wireless microphone kit, and this is the receiver. So I do have the wireless microphone just clipped onto my shirt, and it's sending that signal to this receiver, and from this receiver it's sending it as a microphone input over here. So as well over here onto the right hand side, which I do not have anything connected, we do have a 3.5mm TRRS connection, which can allow us to plug in headphones or even connect an additional microphone as well. We will demonstrate and talk a little bit more about that shortly. Let's jump over here to the left hand side. You can see that we do have 4 SDI inputs, which I believe support up to 2K 60 frames per per second. So I do have an SDI camera currently connected right now. So you might be thinking, well, can we be playing the HDMI and the SDI at the same time? No, we cannot. We can only do one or the other. So this is my HDMI input number one. This is my SDI input number one. So if I wanted to switch between the HDMI or the SDI, I'm going to be able to do that over here within the menu. Another thing that I wanted to point out over here, I am using the RGBlink Nano wireless transmission system, which is actually connected to one of my PTZ cameras over here. You guys can kind of see over here onto the top right hand side, this is the OBSBot tail air, which I am using the micro HDMI adapter, which is coming over here to the Nano transmitter. So this is basically wirelessly sending the signal, the HDMI signal from this camera to this receiver over here. So let me just pull it a little bit more into frame. So this is the Nano receiver, which is just basically demonstrating that we can use this as a wireless transmission system, which is actually a nice affordable option. I did make a detailed review video about the Nano as well, and you can see it's being connected over here to my HDMI input number 4. So let's go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with the different inputs that I have configured over here, all the different views that I have available. So currently right now, you guys are looking at my HDMI input number 2. As you guys can see, we have this top row of buttons here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This HDMI input number 2 is highlighted in red, and that's what you guys are looking at. As far as my preview, what I have over here in my multi-view screen, I have HDMI input number 1. So if I wanted to make a cut between HDMI input number 2 and HDMI input number 1, I can do that via the T-bar handle right over here by just simply sliding it up or down. Or if I wanted to, I can go ahead and simply make a cut over here via this cut button, and it's going to make a cut just like that. We can also do the same thing over here with the auto button, which is going to auto transition that I've configured over here within the Mini ISO menu. So let's go ahead and switch between my other HDMI inputs. So I'm just going to go ahead and simply select on number 3 HDMI, and that's going to be onto the top row over here, and it's going to be a quick cut. As you guys can see, this is another view coming from my other OBSBot tail air PTZ camera, and that is my HDMI input number 3, which is giving you guys a side view over here. So now let's switch to HDMI input number 4 by just simply pressing number 4 here onto the top row, and now you guys have a view from the other OBSBot tail air PTZ camera, which I was showing you guys earlier, which is connected via the Nano over here. So now that you guys are more familiar with my 4 HDMI inputs, as you guys can see, we got the green screen Chroma Key, which we're going to be taking advantage of shortly. So now I wanted to go ahead and show you guys, let's go back to this view over here. And what I'm actually going to do now is just zoom in with this top-down camera so you guys can have a little bit of a closer look on some of the controls that we have available. What I wanted to do now is actually just go over here into the menu, because I really do like this feature over here. So again, this is a touchscreen. We can use this little dial over here to kind of navigate through the menu settings and control all the different options that we have. But what I want to do over here is come over to this 4th option, which is labeled as views. So we can go ahead and select that. So basically over here, we have up to 8 different presets that we've configured over here and that are saved, and that is going to allow us with one click of a button, switch between all of these different presets. So let's go ahead and click on my preset number 1, which is going to bring it up into my preview. And now if I wanted to make a cut from my preview to my program, just like I did before, we can use the T-bar handle, press the cut button, or press the auto button. In this case, I'm just going to do a simple cut. So here we have basically a picture-in-picture, or should I say picture-by-picture. This is how I've configured it. This is basically one of my HDMI inputs along with my other HDMI inputs. I can configure the size and the positioning and whatnot, and I felt like this is probably one nice layout that might be often used. One thing that I will mention, you'll notice that we do have this black section over here at the top of the screen and also at the bottom. And no, unfortunately, we do not have the option to add images or another input as a background. That is something that I would like to see possibly implemented in a future firmware update, but in most cases this layout also does look pretty good. So let's come back over here to the menu, let's click on views, and we're going to switch from view number 1, preset number 1, to preset number 2. So I just selected it, and now you guys don't see it because it's in my preview right now. So it's basically allowing me to switch to it and preview it before I go live with it. So now let's go ahead and go live by simply using the cut button here again, and bingo, here we go. This is preset number 2 that I've configured, which is using the full 16:9 image that we have, and now we basically have a picture by picture as well. It's showing you guys a closer view over here of the devices, and also now I can speak to you guys as well as I'm demonstrating and talking to you guys. So now let's switch to view preset number 3. Go ahead, I just selected it, now it's in my preview window. Let's make a cut over here, this time with the T-bar handle. And you can see that transition. So in this case, we do have that top-down view, which is from one of my HDMIs, along from the other PTZ camera, which is the Osbot tail air. This is another view that I have configured over here. So let's go to number 4. Let's select number 4. Let's go ahead and do an auto transition this time. So there you go, preset number 4. As you guys can see, I have my top-down view camera over here, and I'm also taking advantage of that Chroma Key that I've all done right over here onto the Mini ISO. I positioned myself over here to the bottom left-hand corner, so you guys can see me and talk to you guys while I'm basically demonstrating. So I really do like this view, this configuration, really nice. Let's go to the next one over here to preset number 5. Let's go ahead and make that cut over here. Same idea. This is another one of my HDMI inputs, again taking advantage of that Chroma Key so you guys can see me talking to you while I'm demonstrating as well. So let's go to preset number 6 right now. Let's go ahead and do another auto cut, and bingo, now I've taken advantage of that other HDMI along with the Chroma Key, so basically a picture-in-picture. And let's go to the next one over here, preset number 7. Let's go ahead and make a cut. And here we go. Now we got another picture-in-picture. That's actually my NDI input, which is coming from my PC. My PC is wirelessly sending that video that I have playing on my PC. It's wirelessly sending it over here to the Mini ISO. And we'll talk about that NDI feature shortly and show you guys how we did that. Okay, let's go finally to the last one, which is my preset number 8. Let's go ahead and make a cut. So perfect, this is my preset number 8. As you guys can see, I'm taking advantage of the Chroma Key, and I'm also again displaying into the background over here that NDI signal coming from my PC, which is sending from my PC to the Mini ISO via NDI wirelessly, just because the Mini ISO is on the same network IP address along with my PC. They're both onto the same address, and I'm using NDI tools to do that via the NDI. So now switching back to preset number 4 over here, I think this is a good layout because it's going to allow us to have a closer look at the menu and settings onto the next few things that I wanted to show you. So let's just exit back over here to the main display screen, which is showing me all of my inputs and preview and program, etc. So what we want to do is enter the menu. So for us to enter the menu, we're going to go ahead and press this menu button over here, which just looks like a house. It's basically taking us back home. And we do have a few options over here, starting off with the input. So let's select input. And as you see, we do have inputs numbers 1 all the way to 5. So inputs number 1 to 4 are my HDMI inputs or my 4 SDI inputs. So as you guys saw, we do have SDI input number 1, which I haven't shown you guys yet. So let's go ahead and select input number 1, and as you can see right now, it's selected to HDMI number 1. But in this case, I want to switch to demonstrate to my SDI camera. So let's go ahead and select that. So let's go ahead and switch to that and make a cut transition over here. So this is the view coming from this PTZ camera. I am using this wireless remote control over here, and again, the image coming from this camera is actually looking pretty good. We can go ahead and zoom in, we can zoom out, we can actually configure a bunch of presets as well onto this remote control. So overall, we just saw how simple it is to be able to switch between HDMI or the SDI inputs. So now let's go back over here within the menu. I'm going to make a quick little cut so you guys can see again how this is done. We're going to come back here to the menu. Same idea, HDMI input number 1. We're going to switch from SDI now back to HDMI. And we can do the same thing for each one of our inputs over here, configuring between HDMI or SDI. And now let's have a closer look at my input number 5. So what can we add as far as input number 5? Well, we do have an option over here to select NDI decoder or UVC. So let's go ahead and take a look at the NDI. As you guys can see, we do have it currently enabled. As you guys saw earlier, I was sending that signal from my PC to the Mini ISO. And if we scroll down over here, you can see that the Mini ISO is actually recognizing 3 different devices over here. I have my computer, which is currently selected right now, which is sending NDI. We also have that HD camera. So that same camera that I just showed you guys that is sending an SDI signal over here hardwired, it also supports NDI as well. So why don't I go ahead and quickly select that. And now let's go ahead and make a cut to my NDI input number 5 over here. And again, this is also being sent from this PTZ camera, which is connected to the Mini ISO via SDI and as well as NDI as well. So let's come back over here to input number 5. And now let's go back to NDI. And in this time, we're going to pick the NDI input number 3 over here, which is actually my laptop, which we see onto the right hand side. So my laptop is also sending an NDI signal as well, which is labeled as Leopazzo Intel. So let's go ahead and select that. And now let's go ahead and make a cut to that input number 5 again, which is NDI coming from my laptop over here. So let's go ahead and make a cut, and bingo, here we go. Now I have some images organized for an example like a presentation that I might want to go through, sending over here to the Mini ISO wirelessly over NDI. So I just wanted to share with you guys maybe a closer look at the Mini ISO. You guys can see over here the display screen, all the buttons. Let's go to the next picture over here, which is a side angle. You can see the SDI inputs. Let's come over here to the next picture over here, which is just a closer look of the 4 SDI inputs. Coming over here to another image, which is the back of the Mini ISO. You can see that we do have the power switch onto the far right hand side. We do have that USB-C connection that's going to supply power to the Mini ISO. We have those 4 HDMI inputs, and we do also have that HDMI output, which is the multi-view, which is being sent to that external monitor that I was showing you guys onto my left hand side. Let's go to the next picture over here, which is showing us onto the right hand side of the Mini ISO. Starting off onto the top right hand side, as we saw that USB 3.0, which is labeled as Webcam. Again, as I was saying earlier, we can send the signal from the Mini ISO over here to our PC, which I'm currently doing, as we talked about, via that blue 3.0 cable. Just underneath the webcam connection over there, we do have another HDMI, which is the program output. Again, as we saw earlier, that program output from that HDMI is being sent over here to this monitor. And now coming back over here, we do have this record option. That is the USB connection, which I have that hub connected. So let's just go ahead and make a cut. That is what this cable is connected to right over here. That record USB option over here, which is allowing me to connect multiple different devices. Let's go back and make a cut. So now we have that network cable, as we were talking about, that's going to provide a network access to the Mini ISO. That's going to allow us to live stream. And those are our 2 audio inputs and outputs. So the one onto the right hand side is a TRS connection, 3.5 mil, which is going to allow us to connect the microphone, as I was talking about. And onto the left hand side, which is a TRRS connection, which we can plug in a headset or additional microphones or headphones that we can monitor the audio or connect to speakers, for an example. So coming over here to the next picture that we have, again, let's just briefly go over this. Onto the left hand side over here, you guys can see those are the 4 SDI inputs, as we talked about. Just above that, onto the top left hand side of the image, we have those 3 green lines, just giving you guys an example on some of the inputs that we can connect to the Mini ISO. We can connect our PC, our laptop, camera, or DVD player, for an example. Onto the top right hand side, we do have that preview monitor, which is the HDMI output. We do have the webcam output, which is connected to my laptop, as I was demonstrating. We have that program out, which is being connected to this monitor over here. We have that USB stick, which will be connected to that record output. We have the Ethernet, which is going to allow us to live stream, I believe, up to 3 or 4 social media platforms all at the same time. We have those audio inputs, and we also have that audio output, which is going to allow us to connect it to speaker or headphones to monitor the audio. So overall, I think now you guys are a little bit more familiar. Taking a closer look over here on the layout of the Mini ISO, you guys can see how it's kind of laid out. Let's just start onto the top left-hand side, getting you guys a little bit more familiar. You can see we do have the zoom controls. So again, this Mini ISO can control my PTZ cameras. We can connect to them wirelessly just by simply connecting a network cable to our cameras and along with the Mini ISO. So we can zoom in and zoom out right over there. And onto the far right hand side, number 5, that is our joystick for the PTZ controls as well. So just next over here onto the left hand side, number 2, you can see that we do have this red button, which is basically our live streaming button. So when it is red, when you press it, it will turn red. Once you've configured your live streaming setup and URL and stream link, etc., when you press it, you can directly go live. Just underneath that, we do have that S button, which is basically like a function button. So we can toggle between either controlling our PTZ cameras, or we can toggle between switching our picture-in-picture size and location and positioning, etc. As you saw, number 3 over here, we do have that display screen, 3.5 inches, which is touchscreen, as we talked about. Number 4 over here onto the right hand side, as we saw earlier, we got the menu button. We have that little dial wheel, which is going to allow us to navigate through the menu. And just below that, we have A and B. So A and B are basically our 2 different inputs. So basically when we are configuring our picture-in-picture, we can configure and select which input do we want to actually control. So for an example, when you're configuring your picture-in-picture, letter A would basically be one of your inputs and letter B would be your other input. So depending on how you want to position it or select what input you want to use, you will be using the A and the B to configure your picture by picture or picture in picture. As you guys saw, far right hand side, number 8, we have the T-bar handle, pretty straightforward. Number 7, again, we do have all of our different inputs over there that we can select either into the preview or to the program, along with the cut button and the auto button. Onto the far left hand side, we haven't really talked too much about that. These are our audio controls over here. We got dials and we can also mute it and also configure audio follow video as well. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with the layout of the Mini ISO, let's come back over here to this view over here and let's go back into the menu so you guys get a little bit more familiar with the menu. So I just selected the menu button as we looked at already earlier. The inputs, we have those 5 inputs that we can configure, switching between HDMI and SDI. And input number 5, as we saw, we're currently taking advantage of NDI, but we can also configure over here connecting a UVC camera. As we were talking about earlier, I have that webcam over there, which is connected to this hub. We can demonstrate that possibly later on, but we got a lot to look at, so let's just kind of continue over here. So let's come back over here to the next option, which is audio. So audio setup. So we got a bunch of audio options over here. So each one of my inputs, so for an example, each one of my HDMIs, I can be sending audio from that camera or that PC or whatever I've connected my HDMI inputs to. I can configure that audio for each one of those, along with my SDIs as well. So here's a quick little example. Let's select input number 1 as far as the audio. So currently right now, I do not have any audio coming from any of my cameras via the HDMI, and that's why I have it set to off. But we do have the option to select audio follow video, or we can select the option a mix as well, which is basically going to always send that audio from that input directly into your live stream or recording. So in my case, I usually like to have mine either to audio follow video or to off. So it all depends on how you want to configure yours. We can do the same thing over here for input number 2 and number 3 and number 4. And for each one of our inputs, we can also control the volume for that audio as well. So for an example, if I wanted to have it set to mix or audio follow video, I can actually use this little scroll wheel over here, little dial, little slider, which is going to allow me to control and adjust the audio for that input. So that is definitely really nice. And if I wanted to, HDMI input number 4, this would be actually a quicker option. So this would be HDMI input number 4 control. I can rotate this dial over here, which is also going to be a faster, easier way to control the volume for each one of those inputs. So for an example, let's bring this one down. Okay, so I just dialed that down. Let's go to input number 1. Let's come back over here to input number 1. As you can see, input number 1 is off, but let's say I wanted to turn it on, audio follow video, bingo, but the volume is all the way down. So I want to increase that volume, I'll use this knob right over here. And you'll also notice when I activate audio follow video over here into the menu, we do also have this light illuminated as well. So just to quickly demonstrate, let's close this menu. As you can see, the menu is closed. If I wanted to quickly turn on audio follow video for input number 2, I can do that right there. If I wanted to adjust the volume for that input, I can do that right over there with this dial. So overall, it's pretty nice and easy to use, as you guys can see. So let's come back over here into the menu. Let's go back into audio. So we talked about inputs number 1 to 4 for audio, but we also have input number 5 as well. So we can control the audio for our USB. So right now, currently, I do not have any USB audio connected, so that's why I have it dialed down. And as far as NDI, you can see we already have those NDI sources, and we can adjust the volume right over there as well. So microphone number 1, let's go over to there, because I am using currently microphone number 1, as we saw right here. I have the volume for microphone number 1 on. Let's actually slide down here so we can go ahead and either turn it on or turn it off. I'm not going to turn it off right now or else you guys are not going to hear me. We can use the slider here to control the volume. We can come over here and adjust the gain. As you guys can see, I have mine set to +4. It goes all the way up to +5 or down to 0. And if we need to, we do also have the option to adjust the delay for that audio in case we need to match it to our video. For an example, it might be a little bit out of sync, but in my case, everything is working good. Let's come over here to microphone number 2, which I currently do not have anything connected. We will demonstrate possibly shortly connecting another microphone to input number 2. But we do have full control. It's turned on. We adjust the volume, adjust the gain, and along with the delay. So here we have microphone number 3. As we were talking about, we have an option to connect a USB-C microphone or a USB microphone over here, either connected directly to the Mini ISO or via this hub, which I'm going to be showing you guys hopefully later with this adapter over here and this wireless microphone kit. Let's come back over here to the menu. Let's go to the next option, which is the output. So you're going to want to come in over here to configure the format. So for an example, the resolution and along with the frame rate. So for my recording, we can record up to 1080p 60 frames per second. I currently have it set to 1080p 30 frames per second. And we also do have other options as well. Here you're going to want to configure your stream. So if you want to live stream, you got to enter in some information over here, so we can go ahead and enable that. We can adjust the bit rate as well. Currently I have it set to 16 megabits per second. If we scroll down over here, we have the option to switch between live streaming in horizontal or vertical. In most cases, I'll be using horizontal, but it's nice to see we have that option. We have NDI encoder, so we can actually send NDI output, which I could demonstrate later on into the video. But if we wanted to, we can send whatever the Mini ISO is sending out via the program. As you guys see over here, we can send that via NDI output. So not only do we have NDI input, which I was demonstrating for you guys, we do also have the option for NDI output. So we can configure that and turn that on right there. And here we want to enter in our stream links, our URLs, for us to go ahead and set up our live stream. So by default, we do have this Tau Cloud one over here, which is the very first one, but I have entered in over here my one for YouTube. As you guys can see, I have it right over here. So how did I actually do that? Well, I did it onto my PC via the Tau Cloud. We may have a look closer at that later on if we have enough time on how I configured those URL and stream key, etc., to live stream to YouTube. Let's scroll down over here a little bit more. So we do have the option to record, which I'm currently doing right now. As you guys can see, I've been recording for this much time. And if I want to stop the recording, I just simply press this red button over here. And as far as the bit rate for my recording, I also have it to 16 megabits per second as well. And the disk info, so basically how much space is left onto the disk, and the disk format if I needed to format it, etc. So we're just going to leave everything as is because I don't want to interrupt this recording that I'm doing right now. We got USB capture as well. So we were talking about that USB output over here via that 3.0. So what do you want to send via that USB 3.0? In my case, I usually have it set to program, or we have the TP as well as an option. So I usually always set it to program. So when I open it up in OBS, that is exactly what I'm going to be seeing in OBS, is what I see over here onto my output. So this is everything that we have over here into the output menu. Let's go back over here. And we're going to go to the next option, which we already saw earlier, all of our different views that we had, all those different presets that I configured. So basically, if you want to know a little bit more about this, once you've configured your camera to the position and the layout and all of that of your picture-in-picture, you basically just want to press it and hold it, and it's going to save that as a preset. So let's back out over here and let's scroll through to the next option, which is the effects. These are our transitions. As you currently see right now, I have this one selected, but we have many to pick from. So let's just start off over here onto the left-hand side and select another one, and we'll kind of go through some of them. So right now, either we can use the T-bar handle or the auto button. So we'll just start off with the T-bar handle to give you guys a quick little example. So there's a quick little transition, which is basically like a fade. Let's switch back to another one. So let's select another one over here. So let's now make a transition with the T-bar handle again. You can see the transition is basically swiping from up to down. We have other ones to pick from. We can use the T-bar handle again. We can use the auto button, same idea. Let's select another one over here. You can see this one's a little bit fancy. We got another one from like top left-hand corner to the bottom right. We have another one swiping up. We have many to pick from. So I like to keep mine as simple as possible. For an example like this one, or just a straight cut for an example, we'll use something like this. So overall, this is nice to see that we have many different options as far as the transition. So let's back out of this and let's take a look at the next option over here, which is the key, which is basically our Chroma Key. So this is where we can actually enable the Chroma Key. We can select the color color between the green and to the blue. And onto the right hand side, we have further controls to adjust that, the maximum of the key, the minimum of the key, and the margin as well. As you guys can see, it's actually performing quite nicely. Let's back out of the key option over here and come over here to the PTZ controls. So this is where you're going to want to configure your PTZ camera. That's going to allow you to control it through the Mini ISO over here. So we have control of the zoom. We can actually reset it as well, so either zoom in or zoom out. We can adjust the focus manually or set it to autofocus. So if we scroll down over here, we actually do have a joystick right here onto the display screen. Not really a joystick, but we do have these arrows to control that PTZ camera. And we do have this number over here into the middle, which is actually controlling the speed. So it goes from like 1 all the way up to 15, 17, yeah, so all the way from 1 to 17. So let's just set it for an example to 3, which is fairly pretty slow. And for me to demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is actually just pull up one of my PTZ cameras. So first off, what we want to do is select which PTZ camera do we want to control. So in my case right now, it's set to input number 1, and that's not what I'm going to be showing you guys. I'm going to be showing you guys, or I want to have control of input number 4, which is my PTZ camera onto the right hand side over here, the OBSBot tail air. So now that I have it set to PTZ camera number 4 or input number 4, I've configured my IP address, etc., and along with the port, and I've also enabled it, and we have control of the speed here as well. Let's go ahead and make a little cut for you guys. So let's make a cut. Okay, so now you guys got view of that camera. So I can use the joystick over here to have control of that camera. As you guys can see, I can pan left and right. I can go up and I can go down as well. And I have control of the zoom over here with these arrow buttons to zoom in or to zoom out. So overall, it's actually really nice to be able to use these controls to control the PTZ camera. And just to demonstrate that we can actually do it over here onto the display screen by just simply pressing or tapping on these arrows, we can pan, we can tilt up, we can tilt down, and we can adjust the speed as well. So now look how much more faster it's going to be if you're maybe filming sports or you're filming something that's moving a lot quicker. We can have full control over here, and along with the zoom, look how quick that zoom is. So that is how you control the PTZ cameras and configure it all by simply entering your IP address and selecting which camera you want to control. So let's back out of these PTZ controls and come over here to the main menu, and we'll have a closer look at this next one over here, which is the settings, the general settings. So we can adjust the language. We got the device firmware version and information. So for an example, it seems like I'm on firmware version 1.42, and we do have some additional information over here. And next over here, we do have the Tau Cloud, which is basically something that you're going to want to do to basically bind the Mini ISO to the Tau Cloud, because on the Tau Cloud website, it's actually going to allow you to control the Mini ISO, some of the controls and settings, and also be able to switch the inputs for an example, and along with uploading your stream links, URL, etc. So as you guys can see, my device is bonded. Over here, as far as the IP address, this is one of the very first things that you actually want to do is configure the IP address. So in my case, I have it set to DHCP, so it automatically detects the IP address when I connect my network cable. But over here, we do have further information as far as the GW and the mask, and we can save all of this as well. So let's come back over here. We have some settings to adjust the time. So basically like the time and date. We have the fan control speed. Currently I have it set to auto. I believe we can actually turn off auto. We can set it to manually, and we can adjust the speed over here. So in my case, I prefer to just set it to auto, so the fan and the cooling management system can just do what it needs to do. If we need to, which I haven't needed to do, we can go ahead into the T-bar correction if there's some kind of error or it's basically not in sync with the T-bar handle. In my case, I've had no issues. We do also have the option over here for the key test, so basically just to double check that all your buttons are programmed as they should be. So next, let's come over here to the next option, which is update. You can see the Mini ISO is actually searching to see if I am due for an update, and I'm currently at 1.42, and it's telling me already the latest version over here. So that is definitely really nice, very nice and easy. So that is simply how you do it. Come to settings, come to update, but you need to be connected to a network cable over here for it to be able to search to see if you are due for an update. Let's scroll down over here, and we can also do a factory reset right over here. So for the most part, guys, it seems like we've gone through everything over here throughout the menu. Hopefully you guys are now a little bit more familiar with the RGBlink Mini ISO, all of the menu controls and inputs and connections that we have configured over here. So now what I want to do is actually switch to my input number 5. So I'm going to select number 5 over here, so it's in my preview window, and we're going to go ahead and make a cut over here. And what are we looking at? Well, we are currently looking at right now now is the NDI source coming from my laptop over here onto the right hand side. So basically I'm sending this over to the Mini ISO via NDI wirelessly. And here we are onto the TauCloud website. As you can see, I'm over here underneath my collection devices. I've selected that, and you can see that the TauCloud is actually recognizing my Mini ISO. You can see that it's online, and we can bind the device over here if you guys have not done so already. That's how you're going to be able to do it. So when you're first getting set up, you won't see your device over here. So you're going to actually have to come over here to bind device, and then come over here into the menu settings as we saw earlier on the Mini ISO itself, and go to the TauCloud option into the settings, and you can basically enter in the number that it provides you. And then you're going to have this displayed over here, the Mini ISO. So what we want to do is click on this little settings icon over here, and it's going to open up and just kind of register to the Mini ISO device itself. So you can see that basically we have some information over here. So how much CPU is it using? How much RAM is it using? We got the product key, the temperature of the device. It's powered on for about 2.5 hours. The device version, software, inputs that we have over here. So you can see input number 1 is 4K 30 frames. Input number 2 is also 4K 30 frames per second. Input number 3 is 1080p 30. And input number 4 is 4K 30 as well. We got the output, which is currently configured to 1920 by 60. We got the output interface information, basically the HDMI outputs, which is my program, is also being sent 1080p 30. And the USB capture as well, 1080p 30. So if we scroll down over here, this is actually pretty cool because we have this image over here of the Mini ISO, and you can see that the Mini ISO is recognizing that I do have the 4 HDMI selected as my inputs, and we can go ahead and actually click on these buttons over here to make a transition or a cut, for an example. So let's just go ahead and click on auto. And you can just see it just did an auto transition just by me simply doing that over here onto my laptop. Let's go ahead and make another cut. Why don't we just go ahead as an example and click on one of my HDMI inputs. Let's select HDMI input number 1. Now you guys are looking at me. HDMI input number 2, which is this top down. We got HDMI input number 3 and 4, all being done over here with the TauCloud wirelessly, just by simply being onto the same network and the device being bound. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with the basic information tab here at the top, we'll come to the next option over here, which is the basic functions. And over here, if we just kind of scroll to the top, we have different scene managements that we can go ahead and configure. The layer management as well, picture in picture or single layer. We can adjust the transitions. We got the manual or automatic switching via the cut or the T-bar handle. We got the matting template and the output settings that we can configure over here. We got the option to actually enable the recording as well. So you can see that it is counting down the time of the recording of this video, along with how much space is left onto the SSD, and the code rate as well. If we scroll down to the bottom, as you guys can see, we're selected to the highest option over here. And as far as the stream tab over here, so this is where we're going to be able to enter in those live streaming URLs and stream keys. So for an example, you can see over here to the right hand side, I configured the YouTube one. So maybe you're wondering, how did I configure this for my YouTube channel to live stream over here onto the TauCloud? So what we want to do is actually just come over here to your YouTube channel. For an example, you want to press go live onto the top right hand side if you guys are not familiar already. And what you're going to do is come over here, scroll down, and you want to copy the stream URL. So you're just going to go ahead and simply copy it. So I'll demonstrate. I just copied it to my clipboard. We're going to come back here to the TauCloud, and we're going to just delete what is currently in there, and we're going to paste that. Okay, perfect. So we pasted that. Now you want to do a backslash or forward slash, whatever one that is called. Come over here to YouTube, and now you're going to actually want to copy your stream key. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and just for the purpose of privacy reasons, I'm not going to actually paste it over here because it's actually will show, but you would just paste your stream key over here, and then you want to go ahead and select distribute, which is actually going to save it to the Mini ISO, and that's how you'll be able to find over here. Let's go ahead and make a cut just to remind you guys. This is where we're going to come over here to the menu. We're going to scroll over here to, where are we? Output. we want to select the stream. And when we enable the stream, we can turn it on. But before we turn it on, we still need to configure. But that's where you're going to be able to see that new stream link right over there. As you guys can see, I have the YouTube one that I have saved. So the new one that I'm creating right now would be saved over here once I've selected and saved the distribute option over here. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar on how to set up your YouTube or your Facebook live stream, any social media, that's basically how it's done. Copy in the URL and the stream key. And finally over here we do have the settings tab. We can go ahead and configure the IP address, the language, reset, the fan speed. As you guys can see, I have it set to automatic, and the T-bar correction if you need to as well. So next I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how to add the mini ISO over here into OBS or Vmix or any type of other software you want to use, for an example, for live streaming or recording. It's actually very easy. So all you need to do, let's go ahead and make a cut. You just need to connect the mini ISO over here via the USB. As you see, it's connected over here to my PC, or you can also do it via NDI as well. So first off, let's just talk about the simple way via USB. So let's go ahead over here into OBS. Let's make a cut so you guys can see what I'm doing. We're going to click on a source over here, add a new one, click on this plus icon. We're going to come over here to video capture device, select that. We're going to name this as mini ISO. We're going to click enter, and over here underneath the properties tab over here for devices, we're going to look for RGBlink USB 3.0 capture. Let's select that. You can adjust some further settings here if you want, but we're just going to select OK. So over here into OBS, we have exactly the program output, the final output on what I'm recording or sending to my live stream being recorded over here into OBS, which is definitely a really nice feature to be able to do that. So now I wanted to show you guys how to do that via NDI as well. So over here onto the mini ISO, what you want to do is come over here to the menu. We're going to go into output, and we're going to select the stream option over here, and we're going to scroll down, and we're not going to be live streaming, but we're going to enable the NDI encoder, which is basically the NDI output from the mini ISO. We're going to wirelessly send the program as an NDI output to OBS, for an example. So let's go ahead and enable that. Okay, so NDI encoder is enabled, and now we're going to come over here to OBS, and what we're going to do, for an example, let's just go ahead and close the mini ISO, or better yet, let's just delete the USB one that we were looking at earlier. So let's remove that. Okay, and we're going to add a new source this time, and this new source, for an example, is going to be an NDI source. So let's select NDI source. We're going to name this one mini ISO NDI. Perfect. Let's select enter. Source name, well, we need to select from this drop down menu RGBlink Mini ISO, and it's showing the IP address. We're going to go ahead and select OK, and bingo, just like that, now we have the mini ISO being sent wirelessly from the mini ISO via NDI over here to OBS. So I can do a live streaming in OBS, or I can do a recording as a backup as well, Vmix, any type of software you want to use. All right guys, so the next thing I wanted to show you guys how to do is how to add a webcam via UVC to the mini ISO. So let's come over here to the menu. We're going to select on the input, and we're going to click on input number 5. And as you guys saw, we've been using this whole time an NDI source for the input number 5. So let's just go ahead and turn that off, because we can only use either one or the other, either NDI or UVC. So let's disable the NDI option, and let's go back, and we're going to come over here to UVC, and let's enable UVC, which is basically going to be our webcam. So I just turned it on over here. So now that I've selected input number 5 onto my preview, let's go ahead and make a cut over here and switch over, and now you guys are looking at me from the USB-C webcam, which is the OBSBot Me 2 via UVC, connected over here to the mini ISO. Fantastic, nice little feature. We have an additional input via UVC. So I'm just going to pick up the webcam over here, give you guys a little tour behind the scenes. You can see this is the mini ISO along with that monitor. I got my laptop over here. I had the webcam, the one that I'm holding right now, just mounted onto the top. This is the OBSBot Me 2 right over here, which is connected via the Ask Nano. And we have the Ask Nano powered right now via the USB power bank over there, the CG Cine V99. And this is the receiver from the Ask Nano, which is being sent as an input, HDMI input number 4. You can see all of my connections that I have over here. We can talk about a little bit more audio shortly. And there's the other OBSBot tail air right over here, which is connected via HDMI right over here, micro HDMI to full-size HDMI. And again, I do have PTZ controls as well. Here's my multi-view screen, which you guys didn't really get much of a look at. Let me just kind of give you guys a quick little breakdown. So it's basically the same thing that we're looking at over here on the display screen on the Mini ISO, but now we just have it on a nice bigger monitor via the HDMI output. So you can see this is my program. That's what you guys are looking at. Here's my preview. And here are my 4 HDMI inputs, and they also shows the resolution along with the frame rate right over there. And here's my media, which is the UVC in this case, which is my input number 5. We got my audio level meters little interface over here, and we have the record little icon in the on air as well. So from my testing so far, when I am recording to the SSD or to the USB, it's not showing me over here onto the multi-view. It just shows me onto the menu itself that I'm recording. And along when I'm live streaming, it doesn't show me over here. Maybe this can hopefully get fixed in a firmware update, because it would be nice to be able to have that indication that I'm recording on this multi-view and also that I'm on air over here onto the multi-view versus just kind of looking at the device display screen and menu itself. So as you guys can see, it's pretty straightforward to set up and connect as an additional input. So now let's go ahead and cut back over here. So next, what I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about is actually a little bit more about my audio setup. So what I'm going to do is just zoom out over here to give you guys a bigger picture. Okay, and I'm going to change my preview to maybe something else. Let's come to this view over here so I can toggle back between these two different views. So I wanted to talk about audio. So first things first, let's talk about this cable over here. This cable is included with the Mini ISO. On one end is a TRS 3.5, and on the other end we actually do have 2 connections over here. One is for headphones, and one is for an additional microphone to connect. So where do we connect this to? Well, we're going to connect this to that other 3.5 millimeter port over here, which is labeled basically like as a headset, which I currently do not have anything connected to. So I just connected that right now. So what I want to do next, for an example, if I wanted to monitor the audio, which I did before starting to record this video, I'm going to take the headphone jack over here, and I'm going to connect my headphones. So I have a set of headphones over here. Okay, and I'm going to plug them in to the headphone, and bingo, now I can go ahead and listen to the audio from the Mini ISO, all of my different inputs and everything, and just make sure that everything sounds good for my live stream and my recording. Perfect. So you're definitely going to want to configure something like that to monitor the audio, or you can also send it out to speakers if you want to. So now I have another option for another microphone over here, which is going to be my microphone number 2. So in this case, what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate, what I'm going to do is use this red cable. So this red cable I purchased on Amazon. I will leave links down into the description. On one end is the 3.5 millimeter TRS, and the other end is a USB-C, because I'm going to be connecting it to my iPhone, for an example, to add in music or sound effects or whatever it is that I want to add to. Just giving you guys an example over here. So this one end, the TRS cable, is going to connect over here to the microphone input on this Y cable. Okay, and the other end over here is actually going to go into my iPhone. So let's just get my iPhone over here, and we're going to connect it over here to USB-C. Perfect. And I actually have over here in my Google Drive some audio that I want to play for you guys. Let me lower down this brightness so you guys can actually kind of see what's going on. All right, so we're going to add in some audio. So before I do that and start playing some audio, let's come over here into the menu. Let's come to audio. And what am I connecting? I'm connecting a microphone number 2. So let's click on mic 2. And right now you can see mic 2 is on. The mic 2 volume slider is set to about halfway. The gain is set to 0. So mic number 2, as far as the Mini ISO, it is enabled and good to go. So let's go ahead and select a song over here and start playing some music. As you guys can see, it's very nice and easy to be able to add music from like an audio device or your phone or some sort of a mixer or anything as well. So we got several different audio configurations from the HDMI inputs, the SDI cameras as well, along with mic 1, mic 2. So we are not even done there. We can actually add another input, for an example, microphone number 3, which would be a USB or USB-C microphone as well. I can go ahead and demonstrate that quickly for you guys. And again, I just use a little dial over here to control the audio volume from microphone number 2. Perfect. So I think that was a good little example. Let's go ahead and turn off microphone number 2. input number 2, so we'll just disable it. Let's come over here to microphone number 3. So what we're going to be doing for this example, we're going to use this wireless microphone. This is the Hollyland Lark M2S, brand new microphone that just hit the market not too long ago. So what does it come with? It comes with 2 different receivers, but in this case what I'm going to be using is this USB-C receiver that you would normally use for like your iPhone. I have the newer iPhone 16 Pro Max, which does have a USB-C connection. So in most cases I would just plug this into my phone and then use one of the microphones, and I have some audio going into my phone. But guess what? We're going to be using this setup for the Mini ISO as microphone number 3. So what are we going to do over here? We're going to connect this USB-C receiver over here to this hub over here, which I'm using that adapter that we were talking about earlier, USB-C to USB. And I'm going to pull out one of these microphones over here. Okay, I'm just going to clip this onto my shirt. All right, clipped onto my shirt. So how are we going to activate this microphone? We're going to come over here, Mini ISO, audio, input number 3, mic number 3, and we're going to turn it on. Bingo. And now we're on over here. So we might not be hearing audio from this microphone yet. What we need to do is actually come over here to input number 5, and you can see USB is currently turned down the volume. So we need to actually increase this. So let's bring this up a bit. Let's come to the audio settings for mic 1. We're going to turn it off. And currently right now we just have microphone number 3 on. As you can see, microphone number 2 is off as well. So just microphone number 3, which is a USB-C connection, and we're using the Lark M2S. This is what the audio sounds like. Mic check 1 2 3, mic check 1 2 3. Overall, that's a wrap for today's video. I definitely do appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or anything, let me know down into the comment section down below. I will leave some links of all of the products that I've used into this video and that I use for my videos in general. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys onto the next video. Till next time, peace.